Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare $quarter coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we have something truly special to talk about, the United States $quarter coin from 1776 to 1976. This coin is not only a piece of history but also a sought-after collectible that has fascinated numismatists for decades. If you've ever come across one of these quarters, you might have wondered if it's worth something more than just its face value. The 1776 to 1976 bicentennial quarter was issued to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. At first glance, it might seem like any other quarter, but it's so much more than that. This coin holds immense historical significance and is one of the most coveted pieces among collectors, especially if you're lucky enough to find one in pristine condition or with rare features. In 1976, the United States Mint released these special quarters with a unique design. The obverse side of the coin features the classic portrait of George Washington, but the reverse side is where the magic happens. The reverse showcases a stunning depiction of the Liberty Bell, with the 13 stars surrounding it, representing the original 13 colonies. The inscription, 1776 to 1976, appears prominently on the coin, marking the 2 centuries of American independence. But what makes this coin so valuable? Well, there's more to it than just the commemorative nature of the quarter. It's about rarity, condition, and some specific characteristics that make certain examples of this coin stand out in the world of numismatics. First off, let's talk about the rarity of these coins. While the 1776 to 1976 bicentennial quarter was produced in large numbers, most of them were circulated and have undergone wear and tear over the years. Coins that have been heavily used tend to lose their value, but there's a catch: coins that were carefully preserved or remain uncirculated are worth significantly more. Imagine this: a coin that looks like it just came out of the mint and hasn't been touched by daily transactions is much rarer than you'd think. If you manage to find one of these quarters in near-perfect condition, you've already got a potentially valuable piece on your hands. But that's not all. The value of a 1776 to 1976 bicentennial quarter can increase even more if it features any minting errors or unique characteristics. Error coins are some of the most prized possessions among collectors. Whether it's a double die, an off-center strike, or a misalignment in the design, these imperfections create one-of-a-kind items that can dramatically boost the coin's value. So, if you have a 1776 to 1976 quarter that shows signs of such minting anomalies, you could be holding a coin worth much more than the usual price. Collectors are always on the lookout for these rarer variants because they don't come around every day. It's not just about the number of coins made, it's about finding those that stand out. The more unique the error or the better the condition, the higher the demand and, ultimately, the price. Now, let's talk numbers. If you've got one of these rare 1776 to 1976 bicentennial quarters in excellent condition, or better yet, with a minting error, you could be looking at a coin worth a lot of money. In fact, some of these quarters have been known to sell for as much as $79,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single quarter, which originally circulated as regular currency, could be worth $79,000 depending on its condition and any unique features it may possess. It's truly remarkable how a coin from such a significant time in American history can carry such an extraordinary value. So, if you happen to have a 1776 to 1976 bicentennial quarter tucked away in your collection or buried in a jar of loose change, take a closer look. Top 2, we've got a coin that might just surprise you, a piece of American history that's not only rich in story but also holds a pretty hefty price tag. We're talking about the 1979 D quarter dollar, a coin that has flown under the radar for many, but could be worth far more than you'd expect. At first glance, a 1979 D quarter might seem like any other coin in your pocket change, but trust us when we say, it's not just any ordinary quarter. In fact, this specific coin from 1979, especially with a mint mark D, is one of the most intriguing finds for coin collectors. So, let's take a closer look at what makes the 1979 D quarter so special and why it could be sitting on a small fortune. to understand the true value of the 1979 D quarter, we first need to take a trip back to the year it was minted. In 1979, the United States Mint struck millions of quarters to meet the growing demands of a booming economy. However, what many don't know is that some of the quarters produced in that year, particularly the ones with the D mint mark, were struck with certain flaws that would go on to make them highly valuable to collectors. You might be wondering, what makes a coin like this one so special? Well, the 1979 D quarter has become famous because of a very specific error. This error, which is known as the wide rim variety, makes certain 1979 D quarters incredibly rare. When these coins were being struck, a small mistake in the die used to produce them led to the creation of a quarter with a wider than usual rim. The wide rim, coupled with some other minor features, makes these coins stand out from the rest. Now, let's talk about the real kicker: condition. While these coins were widely circulated in 1979, many of them are worn down from years of use. So, if you happen to come across a 1979 D quarter in uncirculated condition, you're already holding a rare piece. But if that coin also happens to feature the wide rim error, you could be looking at something truly valuable. The demand for error coins is always high in the numismatic world, and the 1979 D wide rim is one of the more desirable mistakes. But hold on, there's more to the story. Error coins like these often slip under the radar for years, and many collectors might not even realize they have one in their possession. That's what makes these coins so exciting to find. Imagine stumbling across a coin that's not just historically significant but also carries a significant financial reward. It's a rush for any collector, and the rarity of the 1979 D quarter only adds to its allure. When it comes to these quarters, it's all about finding the right one. Coins that feature this wide rim error in near-perfect, uncirculated condition are worth much more than their face value. In fact, some of these quarters have been known to sell for incredible amounts at auctions and private sales. A 1979 D wide rim quarter in great condition could fetch an astonishing price. So, if you happen to have a 1979 D quarter lying around in your collection or tucked away in your change jar, you might want to take a second look. The rarity of the wide rim error, combined with the coin's excellent condition, could mean that it's worth much more than just a couple of dollars. In fact, it could be worth as much as $75,000, that's right, $75,000 for a single quarter. It's hard to believe that something so small could hold such incredible value, but that's the magic of collecting rare coins. So, if you're a coin lover or a collector, be sure to pay close attention to the 1979 D quarters you come across. You might just have a small fortune waiting for you. Top 3. We're diving into a fascinating piece of US coinage that might not look extraordinary at first glance, but could very well be worth a small fortune. We're talking about the United States quarter dollar from 1982. Now, most people wouldn't give a second thought to a quarter from this year, but let me tell you, if you're a true coin collector, this could be your ticket to something really special. At first glance, the 1982 quarter might seem like just another regular coin from the early 80s. After all, it features the familiar design of George Washington on the obverse and the eagle on the reverse. But hidden within this simple, everyday coin lies a treasure waiting to be discovered. You see, it's not just the design that makes these quarters so intriguing, it's the mistakes and variations that make them valuable. In 1982, the United States Mint produced millions of quarters, like they do every year, but what sets the 1982 quarter apart is a series of unique minting errors. Over the years, certain quarters from this year have been found to have small imperfections, and in the world of numismatics, those imperfections can mean big money. Whether it's an off-center strike, a double die, or other types of minting mistakes, these quarters can be worth far more than their face value, sometimes by thousands of dollars. One of the most notable errors that has popped up in the 1982 quarters is the double die variety. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with coin errors, a double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned during the minting process. This results in a coin where the design is duplicated or doubled in certain areas. If you find a 1982 quarter with a double die, it's not just a cool collector's item, it could be worth a lot more than you think. These kinds of error coins are highly sought after, and if you're lucky enough to find one, it could be worth a small fortune, but it's not just the error coins that make this quarter valuable. The condition of the coin plays a huge role in its worth. Like many other coins from this era, the majority of the 1982 quarters that were released into circulation have been worn down over time. However, if you happen to come across an uncirculated 1982 quarter, or one in near-perfect condition, you've got yourself a rare find. Coin collectors are always on the lookout for coins in pristine condition because they are far less common than the worn ones. The value of these well-preserved coins skyrockets, and the right buyer will pay a premium for them, and let's not forget about the demand for these quarters in the collector's market. People love hunting for rare coins, especially those that are tied to significant years or events. The 1982 quarter is a great example of a coin that might not have stood out when it was first minted, but as time passes, its value increases, especially for those with unique features or errors. Now, you might be wondering just how much a 1982 quarter could actually be worth. Well, if you manage to find one in mint condition, or even better, one with a minting error like the double die, you could be holding onto something that could sell for an eye-popping amount. Believe it or not, a rare and error-free 1982 quarter could be worth as much as $56,000, yes, you heard that right, $56,000 for a single quarter. It's incredible to think that a coin so small, so simple, could hold such immense value. But that's the beauty of coin collecting, you never know what treasures you might find, hidden away in a drawer, a change jar, or even a coin roll. So, if you happen to have a 1982 quarter lying around, don't just pass it by. Give it a closer look, there might be something rare and valuable waiting for you. Top 4, we're diving into a coin that might seem like a regular piece of pocket change to the untrained eye but actually holds some serious value in the world of numismatics. Yes, today we're talking about the United States quarter dollar from 1972. It's a coin that's not only a part of American history but also a hidden gem in the coin collector world. So, if you're a fan of rare finds or just love the thrill of discovering valuable coins, stick with me because what I'm about to share might just change the way you look at this quarter forever. At first glance, the 1972 quarter might appear like any other. You've got the classic image of George Washington on the front, and the eagle on the reverse, as with most quarters of that era. But as many coin collectors will tell you, not all quarters are created equal. What makes the 1972 quarter stand out among others isn't the design, it's the minting errors and variations that make it incredibly rare and valuable. Let's rewind a bit to 1972. The United States Mint was busy churning out millions of quarters to meet the demands of a growing economy. But as with any mass production process, mistakes happen. And those mistakes, well, they often turn into treasures for collectors. The 1972 quarter is a perfect example of this. While the coin was produced in large numbers, certain versions of the quarter have errors that make them highly sought after and extremely valuable. One of the most famous errors to look out for is the double die variety. Now, if you've been following the world of coin collecting, you've probably heard of double dies before. This is when a coin is struck more than once, causing the design to appear doubled. For the 1972 quarter, this doubling effect can be seen most clearly on Washington's eye and the word "Liberty" on the obverse. It's a subtle yet striking feature that makes these coins stand out. A double die 1972 quarter can be worth a significant amount more than its face value, as these error coins are highly coveted by collectors, but the rarity doesn't stop with the double die. Another thing that makes the 1972 quarter so interesting is its history and production. The U.S. Mint produced millions of these quarters, but very few have survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. Most quarters from 1972 saw years of circulation and were subject to wear and tear. However, the coins that were carefully kept or those that never saw circulation are like hidden treasures, and they can command high prices when they are in excellent condition. Imagine finding one of these quarters in perfect shape, looking just like it did the day it was minted. A coin like that, especially if it's a double die or has some other unique feature, is a real find for any serious coin collector. The value of such a coin can skyrocket, and that's what makes the 1972 quarter such an exciting piece to search for. The more you learn about the characteristics of these rare quarters, the more you realize how much potential they have. Now, let's get to the really exciting part, the value. So, let's say you come across a 1972 quarter, and it's in perfect condition. Maybe it even has that double die error or another rare feature. Well, don't just toss it aside. Coins like this can be worth far more than their face value. In fact, if you find a 1972 quarter in top-notch condition or with one of these rare minting errors, you could be looking at a coin that could be worth $64,000, yes, you heard that right, $64,000 for a single quarter. It's hard to believe that something as simple as a coin could be worth that much, but the world of coin collecting is full of surprises. Whether it's a subtle error, a rare variation, or a coin in mint condition, these factors can cause the value of a coin to soar, and the 1972 quarter is a prime example of that. If you're out there hunting for rare coins or have an old collection tucked away, this is a perfect reminder to pay attention to the details. You never know when you might stumble across a 1972 quarter that could turn out to be worth thousands of dollars. So, take a good look at any 1972 quarters you come across, and be sure to check for those telltale signs of a double die or other unique features. Top 5, we have an exciting coin to talk about, one that you might not immediately think of when you imagine rare or valuable coins. But believe me, the 1995 United States quarter dollar is a coin that deserves your attention, and it might just be hiding in your collection or even in your pocket change. At first glance, the 1995 quarter might seem like any other quarter, featuring the classic image of George Washington on the obverse and the eagle on the reverse. It was a year like any other, and millions of these coins were produced by the U.S. Mint. So, why is it that some of these quarters are worth far more than just 25 cents? Well, the answer lies in some unique errors and features that set the 1995 quarter apart from its peers. If you're a collector or just someone who's fascinated by the hidden value in everyday coins, you're going to want to stick around for this. Let's start with the basics. The 1995 quarter, much like any other coin of its time, was designed and minted as part of a regular coin production cycle. But the real magic happens when these coins are struck with errors or variations that make them more valuable. The minting process isn't perfect, and occasionally, a coin will come out with a mistake that's so rare, it increases the coin's value dramatically. One of the most important factors in determining the rarity of a 1995 quarter is the possibility of errors in its design. A common issue that collectors look for is the double die variety. A double die occurs when the coin's die, a metal stamp used to imprint the design onto the coin, shifts slightly during the minting process. This creates a coin with a design that's duplicated, making certain details appear more than once. In the case of the 1995 quarter, this error is often noticeable in the word Liberty and the date, 1995. If you find a 1995 quarter with noticeable doubling, you may have found a rare treasure that could be worth much more than face value. Another key factor contributing to the value of the 1995 quarter is its condition. Most of the quarters from this year were in circulation for years, and like most coins, they've experienced wear and tear over time. However, if you happen to come across a 1995 quarter in pristine or uncirculated condition, that's when the coin truly becomes valuable. Coins that have been carefully stored or never used in circulation are highly sought after by collectors because they offer a glimpse of the coin in the condition it was when first minted. The better the condition of the coin, the higher the value. The 1995 quarter is also unique because of the demand for coins from this era. Collectors are always on the lookout for coins from specific years, especially when they have errors or are part of a unique series. The 1995 quarter falls into this category, as it is considered a part of the modern coin era, but still offers a level of rarity and uniqueness that collectors find particularly appealing. If you're lucky enough to find one of these quarters with a minting error or in mint condition, you could be holding on to something that's worth far more than its face value. Now, let's talk about the value. This is the part that really gets exciting. If you manage to find a 1995 quarter with the right error, or even better, one in flawless, uncirculated condition, you could be sitting on a valuable coin. And I'm not just talking about a couple of dollars more than its face value. A 1995 quarter with the right characteristics could be worth as much as $45,000, that's right, $45,000 for a single quarter. It's truly mind-blowing to think that something as small and unassuming as a quarter could be worth so much, but that's the beauty of coin collecting. The smallest error, or the best-preserved coin, can turn into a priceless treasure. So, if you happen to find a 1995 quarter in your change or you've got one stashed away in your collection, it might be time to take a closer look. Who knows? You could be holding onto something that's far more valuable than you ever imagined, so, before you toss that 1995 quarter aside, be sure to check for any errors or signs of minting mistakes. Whether it's a double die or just a coin in pristine condition, the 1995 quarter could be your ticket to a small fortune. Make sure to look carefully, because the world of rare coins is full of hidden treasures just waiting to be discovered. Top 6. We're diving into a coin that might be sitting right in your pocket or hiding in your collection, waiting to reveal its true value. It's the United States quarter dollar from 1990. At first glance, this coin might not seem like much, but when you take a closer look, you'll find that it has some very interesting qualities that make it a highly desirable piece in the world of numismatics. So, if you love discovering hidden treasures or are simply curious about what makes certain coins so valuable, stick around, you're in for an exciting ride. When most people think about rare coins, they usually picture older pieces like the ones from the 1800s or early 1900s. However, some of the most sought-after coins are from more recent years, and the 1990 quarter is a perfect example. While it might not be an antique, there are certain aspects of the 1990 quarter that make it incredibly valuable, and understanding those aspects could make you a very lucky collector. Let's start with the basics. The 1990 quarter, like most modern U.S. quarters, features George Washington's image on the front and an eagle on the reverse. But unlike the millions of quarters minted in 1990, some of these coins have something extra, errors or variations that make them stand out. This is where the magic happens. In the world of coin collecting, the slightest imperfection or variation can turn an ordinary coin into a highly valuable treasure point. One of the most exciting things to look for in the 1990 quarter is the potential for minting errors. While most coins are struck perfectly, sometimes things don't go as planned during the minting process. This can lead to what are known as minting errors, things like double strikes, off-center strikes, or even incorrect designs. These errors are extremely rare and incredibly valuable. In fact, error coins like this are often the most sought-after items for collectors because they are so unique. If you come across a 1990 quarter with any kind of minting flaw, you could be holding onto a piece of numismatic history. One of the most desirable errors in any coin is a double die. This occurs when the die used to stamp the design onto the coin shifts slightly, creating a doubled image. For the 1990 quarter, this could mean that the word Liberty or In God We Trust is slightly doubled, giving the coin a distinctive look. If you find a 1990 quarter with a double die, you've discovered a treasure that could be worth thousands of dollars more than its face value. But it's not just minting errors that make the 1990 quarter interesting. The condition of the coin also plays a huge role in its value. Most of the 1990 quarters that were released into circulation have been worn down through years of handling. However, if you manage to find a 1990 quarter that has been well preserved and remains in mint or near mint condition, you've got yourself something special. Uncirculated coins, or coins with very minimal wear, are much rarer than you might think, and that rarity drives up their value. What makes the 1990 quarter even more appealing to collectors is that it's not just another random coin from a random year, it's part of the larger collection of modern-era coins, and there's always demand for quarters from specific years, especially if they have unique features or errors. When you combine rarity with high demand, you have the perfect recipe for a coin that could be worth far more than its original value. Now, let's talk about the most exciting part: how much could a 1990 quarter actually be worth? If you find a 1990 quarter with an error, especially one like a double die or something else that makes it stand out from the crowd, or if you find one in pristine, uncirculated condition, you could be looking at a coin worth a significant amount of money. In fact, A rare 1990 quarter could be worth as much as $48,000, that's right, $48,000 for a single quarter. It's incredible to think that such a small, everyday coin could hold such immense value, but that's the power of rare coins and the fascinating world of coin collecting. Whether it's an error coin or just one that's been well preserved over the years, the 1990 quarter has the potential to bring in a substantial amount of money. So, next time you see a 1990 quarter in your change jar or come across one while going through a coin roll, make sure to take a closer look. It could be your lucky day. Top 7. We're diving into the world of the 1996 United States quarter dollar, a coin that might look ordinary at first glance, but has the potential to be worth a small fortune. So, if you've ever wondered if there's more to your pocket change than meets the eye, stick around because this coin could just be your ticket to a rare find. The 1996 quarter is one of those coins that's been floating around for decades now, but what makes it special? After all, it was part of the usual production run of quarters back in the 90s, right? Well, not exactly. While many of these coins were mass-produced and circulated widely, some key features make certain 1996 quarters incredibly valuable. And if you're a collector or just someone who loves discovering hidden gems, this coin is definitely worth paying attention to. So, let's start by looking at the design, which is familiar to anyone who's seen a quarter in circulation. On the obverse, you'll find the portrait of George Washington, as usual, and on the reverse, you'll see the traditional eagle. But, what sets the 1996 quarter apart is not its design, it's the rarity and specific characteristics that make it valuable in the coin collecting world. One of the biggest factors that contribute to the value of this quarter is the presence of minting errors. Minting errors happen during the production process, and they can vary from something subtle to something that stands out a lot more. These errors happen when the dies or the machines at the US Mint make small mistakes, and when those mistakes result in something different from the standard coin, collectors take notice. In fact, error coins are often worth far more than their regular counterparts because they are unique and difficult to find. For the 1996 quarter, one of the most notable errors is the off-center strike. An off-center strike occurs when the coin is not properly aligned during the minting process. This can cause part of the design to be cut off or misaligned. These types of errors are highly sought after by collectors because they are a true anomaly. If you happen to come across a 1996 quarter with an off-center strike, you could be holding onto a coin worth thousands of dollars. And, let's not forget the possibility of other types of minting mistakes, like doubling or incorrect stamping, which can add even more value to the coin, but there's more to this coin story than just minting errors. Condition plays a huge role in the value of any coin, and the 1996 quarter is no exception. Most of the coins from this year have been in circulation for decades, meaning they've experienced wear and tear from being handled and spent over time. However, if you happen to find one that's been carefully stored or never circulated at all, you've got a real gem on your hands. Uncirculated coins, or those that have been preserved in mint condition, are rare to find, and they can command much higher prices from collectors who are looking for that perfect piece to add to their collection. Now, let's talk about how valuable the 1996 quarter can really be. As you've already seen, there are a few factors that make this coin stand out, whether it's a rare minting error, its pristine condition, or its place in the overall history of US coinage. So, what's it worth? Well, if you come across a 1996 quarter with an off-center strike or any other significant minting flaw, or if you find one that's in absolutely perfect, uncirculated condition, it could be worth as much as $44,000, yes, you heard that right, $44,000 for a single quarter. It's pretty astonishing to think that something so small and simple could be worth such a hefty amount of money, but that's the world of coin collecting for you. With the right combination of rarity, error, and condition, the 1996 quarter can be a true treasure. So, before you dismiss that old 1996 quarter sitting in your drawer, take a moment to really inspect it. Look for signs of errors or unique characteristics that could make it worth more than just 25 cents. And if you happen to find one of these rare coins, you could be sitting on a small fortune without even knowing it. Top 8. We're going to explore a coin that might be sitting in your collection or perhaps even hiding in your pocket change, the 1979 United States quarter dollar. At first glance, it may look like any other quarter, but trust me, there's more to this coin than meets the eye. Some 1,979 quarters have characteristics that make them incredibly valuable, and understanding what to look for could turn this humble quarter into a serious treasure. The 1979 quarter is often overlooked by many collectors, as it's part of the regular production run and was circulated widely during the late 70s. But that doesn't mean there's nothing special about it. In fact, this coin has some characteristics that could make it worth a lot more than its face value. To understand why, we need to dive deeper into the rarity and unique features that make certain 1979 quarters stand out in the world of numismatics. One of the most interesting factors to consider is the potential for minting errors. Minting errors are what make a coin rare and collectible. These errors occur during the production process, when something goes wrong with the minting die, the press, or the planchet, the blank metal disc that gets struck to become a coin. In most cases, these errors are incredibly rare and make the coin more valuable because they are unique. Some of the most sought-after minting errors in coins include double strikes, off-center strikes, and die cracks, and the 1979 quarter is no exception to this rule. One of the most desirable types of errors for the 1979 quarter is the off-center strike. An off-center strike happens when the coin is not properly aligned with the minting die. This causes the design to be misaligned, and part of the coin's image may be cut off. The result is a visually unique coin with a distinct error that is highly appealing to collectors. If you find a 1979 quarter with an off-center strike, you may be holding on to something worth thousands of dollars more than its face value. Another minting error you'll want to look for is the double die error. This happens when the coin's die strikes the planchet more than once, creating a doubled design on the coin. This can be most noticeable in details such as the word Liberty or the date, 1979. If you spot any doubled lettering or other design features, it's a strong sign that you found a rare coin with an error. These types of coins are highly desirable to collectors, and they can command a premium price in the market, but it's not just minting errors that make the 1979 quarter valuable. The condition of the coin plays a major role in its worth. As we all know, most coins that are used in everyday transactions tend to get worn down over time, and the 1979 quarter is no different. However, coins that have been carefully stored and preserved in pristine condition are much rarer and can fetch a much higher price. Uncirculated coins, or those that show minimal signs of wear, are always in demand, especially for collectors who are looking to complete their sets with the finest examples available. Now, let's talk about the value of the 1979 quarter. A standard quarter from this year, in normal circulation condition, may not be worth much more than its face value. But if you're lucky enough to find a 1979 quarter with a minting error, or one that has been carefully preserved in uncirculated condition, you could be sitting on something much more valuable. Coins with errors can often sell for thousands of dollars more than their face value. And for the rarest of the rare finds, those with significant minting errors or in perfect condition, the value can skyrocket to astonishing amounts. So, how much could a 1979 quarter really be worth? Well, if you happen to find a 1979 quarter with an off-center strike, a double die error, or one in impeccable condition, you could be looking at a coin worth as much as $54,000, that's right, $54,000 for a single quarter. It's amazing to think that something as small and seemingly insignificant as a quarter can have such incredible value. But that's the beauty of coin collecting. Sometimes, the most ordinary coins hide extraordinary potential. So, before you toss that 1979 quarter into your spare change jar, take a moment to carefully examine it. Look for any signs of minting errors, especially off-center strikes or doubled features. If you find one with an error or in near-perfect condition, you could be holding on to a coin that's worth far more than just 25 cents. Top 9, we're going to explore a coin that's often overlooked but has a lot more potential than you might think, the 1988 United States quarter dollar. You may have seen this coin countless times, and it may seem like just another modern quarter, but trust me, there's a lot more to this coin than meets the eye. If you're a collector or someone who loves discovering hidden gems, this video is definitely worth your time. the 1988 quarter, produced as part of the regular minting run, doesn't seem to stand out at first glance. It features the standard George Washington portrait on the obverse and the eagle on the reverse. But while it may look like a standard quarter, there's more to the story when it comes to this particular year and coin. You see, certain quarters from 1988 are incredibly rare and can fetch some serious cash, if you know what to look for. So, what makes the 1988 quarter stand out in the world of coin collecting? Well, like with many other coins, it's the rarity, the condition, and, most importantly, the minting errors that can make a 1988 quarter worth a significant amount of money. Minting errors happen when something goes wrong during the production process, and they can vary from something as simple as a misaligned die to something more extreme, like a double strike. And, when these mistakes happen, they can make a coin much more valuable to collectors, especially when they're as rare as the ones we'll discuss today. One of the most sought-after errors in 1988 quarters is the double die error. This happens when the coin's die strikes the planchet more than once, causing a double image to appear on the coin. You might see the date, 1988, or the word Liberty, slightly doubled, creating a visually distinct and rare feature that collectors love. Double die errors are particularly valuable because they are unique. Every coin that has one is different from the others, and they're not something you're going to find every day. If you happen to stumble upon a 1988 quarter with a double die error, you could be looking at a coin worth far more than just 25 cents. Another error that you'll want to look for is a misaligned die. This is when the coin isn't properly aligned with the die during the minting process, which can cause part of the design to be cut off, resulting in a misaligned look. These types of errors make the coin more interesting and valuable because they're rare, and they add an element of uniqueness to the coin. A misaligned die error on a 1988 quarter can be a great find for any collector who's looking for something out of the ordinary, but minting errors aren't the only thing that makes a 1988 quarter valuable. The condition of the coin also plays a huge role in determining its worth. Most coins that are used in daily transactions become worn over time, and the 1988 quarter is no exception. However, if you come across a 1988 quarter in pristine, uncirculated condition, meaning it has barely been handled or has been carefully stored, you've got something special. Uncirculated coins are always more valuable than their circulated counterparts, especially if they have little to no wear, scratches, or other marks. Now, I know what you're thinking: how much is a 1988 quarter really worth? Well, if you find a quarter with a rare minting error, or one that's in near perfect, uncirculated condition, it could be worth a lot more than you might expect. A well-preserved 1988 quarter or one with a double die or misaligned die error could fetch a price of $43,000, yes, you heard that right, $43,000 for a single quarter. It's truly mind-blowing to think that a coin with a face value of just 25 cents could be worth so much money. That's the incredible world of coin collecting for you. The right coin, combined with the right rarity, error, and condition, can make a huge difference in its value. So, the next time you come across a 1988 quarter, don't just toss it aside. Take a moment to inspect it carefully. Look for any minting errors like a double die or misaligned die, and check the condition. Top 10 and last unique coin. We're diving into a hidden treasure in the world of numismatics, the 1983 United States quarter dollar. This coin, although often dismissed as just another piece of pocket change, actually holds the potential to be worth far more than you might imagine. If you're a coin collector or just someone who loves the thrill of finding rare and valuable items, this video is for you. Stick around, because we're about to uncover why the 1983 quarter could be worth thousands of dollars, and how you can tell if you've got a rare one in your collection. The 1983 quarter may seem like any other quarter at first glance. It features the familiar image of George Washington on the front and the majestic eagle on the reverse. But what makes this particular quarter special? Well, just like with other years, there are some key factors that can dramatically increase the value of a 1983 quarter, and those factors come down to rarity, minting errors, and the overall condition of the coin. One of the most intriguing aspects of the 1983 quarter is the potential for minting errors. Minting errors happen when something goes wrong during the production process, and they're one of the biggest reasons why coins like this one can become incredibly valuable. Even though the 1983 quarter was produced in large numbers, certain minting mistakes make specific coins much rarer, and much more desirable to collectors. The most common minting error that can be found on a 1983 quarter is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin is not perfectly aligned with the minting die, causing the design to be imprinted in the wrong position. The result is a quarter that has part of its image cut off, giving it a distinctive look that collectors crave. Off-center strikes are always a big find, especially if the error is significant enough to be easily noticeable. If you come across a 1983 quarter with this type of error, you may be holding a coin that could fetch a price far above its face value. Another minting error to look for is the double die error. This happens when the die used to strike the coin strikes the planchet more than once. The result is a doubled image, which could be most noticeable in the date or lettering on the coin. Double die errors are always a hot commodity in the world of coin collecting, as they make the coin unique and add a layer of interest to it. If you happen to find a 1983 quarter with a double die error, you could be holding on to a coin that's worth much more than its typical market price. The condition of the coin also plays a major role in determining its value. Most quarters from 1983, like most coins in general, were circulated widely and have suffered some wear and tear over the years. However, if you're lucky enough to find a 1983 quarter in uncirculated condition, meaning it hasn't been used in daily transactions and shows little to no signs of wear, you could be in for a major surprise. Uncirculated coins are always in demand, and collectors are willing to pay a premium for coins in pristine condition. The better the condition, the more valuable the coin. You might be asking yourself, just how valuable can a 1983 quarter really be? Well, if you find one with a significant minting error like an off-center strike or double die, or if you happen to come across one in mint state condition, you could be looking at a coin that's worth a lot more than just 25 cents. The value of these coins can easily skyrocket, depending on the rarity of the error and the condition of the coin. Are you ready for the big reveal? Hold on tight. If you find a 1983 quarter with a rare error or in mint condition, it could be worth as much as $46,000. That's right, $46,000. It's incredible to think that a quarter, which we all know and use every day, can have such immense value. But that's what makes coin collecting so fascinating. Coins that seem ordinary on the surface can actually be hiding something extraordinary beneath. So, the next time you come across a 1983 quarter, take a moment to carefully inspect it. Look for signs of a minting error, like an off-center strike or double die, and check its condition. Even if you think it's just a regular quarter, you could be holding on to something much more valuable than you realize. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare and valuable coins, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future discoveries. Coin collecting is a thrilling journey, and who knows, your next big find could be right around the corner. Keep your eyes peeled and happy hunting.